Greetings and salutations, my comrades and amigos. Pokemon Master Skywalker here with another video. In this video, I am once again joined by Jexelix.
Hello, and now for the third episode of how to use cards effectively. We are currently doing the Bone Pit in this episode, as you can see.
Arena 2.
And we will be going over how you can use these cards effectively.
Yep.
Just a little disclaimer first. This is how we use these cards effectively. If you lose because of using these cards in a certain way, it is not our fault, so don't try to blame us.
Yep. Okay, we'll start with Skeletons. Skeletons is one of the harder to use cards in this arena. It used to be far better spawning 4, but now it only spawns 3. It can be slightly useful against cards that only attack buildings.
Yeah, I see the Skeletons often being neglected, considering they get countered by so much, especially things that do area damage. But they can be used effectively against something that's already taken a target, or is attacking, or is only attacks buildings, such as the Giant or Hog Rider, which can take a decent amount of damage off it.
Yeah. Another good use for this, since it only costs 1 elixir, is it can be very useful for cycle decks. If you want to place something specifically and then quickly cycle back to it again, Skeletons can be useful for that.
Yeah. But being the cheapest card in the game, alongside the Ice Spirit, it is very good for what it's worth.
Yeah. Next we have Minions, very similar to Minion Horde, but it has half as many minions in it, only including 3. It's not quite as good value as the Minion Horde, but it is good for if you want something similar to a Minion Horde but a bit cheaper. For example, I've recently added this because I need an air defense unit, but I don't want to use Minion Horde because that costs 5 elixir and it's difficult to use expensive cards like that. So if you're not quite sure you can afford Minion Horde in your deck, Minions is a good alternative.
Yeah, I believe you took the Archers out instead, which are also a reliable defense against air attacks, but they can be killed by the infamous Sparky.
Yeah.
Anyway, the minions are used very well against something that will do a lot of damage to your tower if you don't do anything about it, such as a balloon or the Hog Rider. As with the balloon, the minions can take it out before it even reaches the tower, and the Hog Rider will only be able to get 2 hits off, as opposed to maybe 6.
And that's another good use of the minions, because you get a bit better elixir value for it. Because say you've got a 4 elixir Hog Rider coming at you, it's better to use a 3 elixir minions to counter it, with the pretty similar capacity for countering it than the Minion Horde, which would cost 5 and ultimately lose you elixir in terms of profit.
However, they would have a nice counter push going there.
But again, it's difficult to get that going if it's costing 5 elixir.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on to the Tombstone. Fun fact of the video, this used to spawn giant skeletons in the April Fool's update. I believe this only lasted about a day, though.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it just spawns regular skeletons. It's useful against cards that specifically target buildings, such as Prince or Giant. And then once it is destroyed, it then spawns 4 skeletons, which is exceedingly useful, since it's sort of like bringing about your own demise sort of thing.
Yeah, the Tombstone, if it lasts long enough, which is about 10 seconds, 12 and a half, you do get the correct value you would if it was just... if it was just a regular Skeletons card and you place 3 of them, which I don't know how you'd be able to do, but Tombstone can be easily countered by many things, such as the bomber, but being only 3 elixir, it distracts the bomber for long enough and usually leads to an elixir, equal elixir, as once the bomber's in range of the Tombstone, it should also be in range of your arena towers.
Yes.
Moving on.
The Tombstone is a pretty good building for what it does, considering it only costs 3 elixir.
Yeah, just a side note we forgot to mention about the minions. It is the only card in this arena that is not based on skeletons.
Yep. Of course, you see that a lot more frequently in later arenas, where you've got one card about the arena and all the others are just their own thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Bomb Tower.
Yep.
This is another good counter for troops that directly attack buildings. It lasts a bit longer against those types of troops, but it doesn't spawn skeletons once it's defeated. It is, however, good against large groups of enemies on the ground because it does splash damage, but it isn't good against air troops, such as minions.
Well, yeah, well that is true. If you place, I know Wizard isn't available yet in this arena, but if you had a Wizard stopping the bomb tower from being able to be attacked by those minions, then you could get some pretty good value out of the bomb tower.
Yep.
As it will be able to take out almost anything that gets thrown at it without sustaining too much damage due to its exceedingly high health being a building.
Yep.
Yeah, anyway, moving on.
Next we have the Giant Skeleton. The Giant Skeleton, if I'm understanding correctly, attacks all troops.
Yes, it does.
Not just buildings. So it can be countered by things like, your skeleton army and that sort of thing. But as a tank, it is very useful if you're able to use it to draw the attack of the Crown Tower and then has something else attacking the Crown Tower. That's very useful. Plus, when it dies, it drops a death bomb. It does a whopping amount of damage.
Yeah, it does. 720 is huge, considering this is only 6 elixir, and even if it does get to your tower, it will probably get more than one hit off as well, which each do 120.
Yep. So it's very good if you've got the tower left with, about 1,000 damage left on it.
Yeah, just chuck a giant skeleton there,
Yep.
it should be gone.
But be careful if other people place their...
Inferno Tower, are you trying to...
place other buildings there.
Yeah, or troops. Anything, in fact. It gets distracted by all of it. But, if it does get to your tower, you're pretty much doomed unless you can do something about it.
Yeah.
I find an effective way to do this is to get a giant to push it out of the way. Then it will take the target of the giant and begin to chase it back to the bridge. And then then the giant skeleton is clear of your tower.
Yeah.
Now the final card in this arena, the balloon, pretty much a giant skeleton with flip values for the damage and death damage, and it also attacks from the air.
Yeah. Yep. This is a very useful card for dealing heaps of damage, because each bomb it drops does 600 damage no matter what troop it's doing it against, but it does specifically target buildings. Yeah. I especially like to use this with the giant, so that you can have things target the giant and then the balloon goes forward and hits the tower and does heaps of damage that way. I think if you're in Bone Pit, I think about 3 or 4 hits would knock out the tower. Yep. And I think in my level it's about 5 hits, maybe even 6 hits.
Yeah, 1,000 damage. Yeah, each bomb drop does about 1,000 damage. And yeah. Anyway, so I think we better wrap this up.
Yep. Okay. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Jexelix, for joining me. As always, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe.